Right now, somewhere, someone is scrolling through a meal delivery app, comparing calorie counts, debating whether to order the bowl with quinoa or the one with rice. It feels like a modern obsession, engineered by nutrition labels and diet culture. But the real answer to what humans are actually built to eat is far stranger. And it has almost nothing to do with any of that. For roughly 2.5 million years, your ancestors ate whatever the land gave them that week. No menus, no labels, no certainty, just constant, restless improvisation. What did that actually look like? And why does your body still seem to be arguing about it? Let's start with a myth you've probably heard. The idea of a single caveman diet, a fixed set of foods eaten by all prehistoric humans everywhere. That idea collapses almost immediately once you look at the evidence. Anthropologist Catherine Milton, who spent decades studying primate and early human diets, has argued that there was no one Paleolithic diet at all. There were dozens, hundreds, depending on where your ancestors lived. A hunter-gatherer in the Arctic ate almost entirely animal fat and meat because that's what existed there. A forager in a tropical forest might eat dozens of plant species in a single week: roots, fruits, nuts, insects, whatever was in season. Your ancestors weren't following a diet plan. They were following the map of what was edible around them. This matters because it reframes an entire assumption. Humans didn't evolve to eat one perfect food. Humans evolved to eat almost anything. That flexibility might be one of the most underrated survival tools your species ever developed. Here's where it gets stranger. Around 2 million years ago, something happened to the human brain. It started growing, fast. And growing a brain is expensive, biologically speaking. Your brain today uses roughly 20% of your body's total energy, despite being a small fraction of your body weight. So where did that energy come from? Researcher Richard Wrangham, a primatologist at Harvard, proposed a controversial and influential idea. He argued that the mastery of fire and cooking may have been the key that unlocked brain growth. Cooked food is easier to digest. It releases more usable calories than the same food eaten raw. If Wrangham is right, the moment your ancestors learned to cook wasn't just a lifestyle upgrade. It may have rewired the entire trajectory of human evolution. Think about that. The brain that's reading this sentence right now may exist, in part, because someone figured out how to control fire well enough to roast a root vegetable. But cooking alone doesn't explain everything. There's another piece of the puzzle, and it's a lot less glamorous than you'd expect: bone marrow. Long before humans were skilled hunters, before spears and coordinated group hunts, early hominins were scavengers. When a lion or a hyena finished with a carcass, humans moved in, not for the meat, which was usually gone, for the bones. Marrow is calorie-dense, fat-rich, and locked inside bone that most predators couldn't crack open. Early humans could. With a simple stone tool, they had access to a food source almost nothing else on the savanna could reach. You are, in a very literal sense, descended from creatures who specialized in eating what other animals left behind. That's not a flattering origin story, but it's an honest one. And it explains something curious about your body today: the strange, persistent human craving for fat. You've probably felt this. The pull toward rich, fatty foods that feels almost impossible to override with willpower alone. That craving isn't a modern failure of discipline. It's ancient wiring. For most of human history, fat was rare and precious. A brain built to crave it wasn't broken. It was smart. It was keeping you alive in a world where the next meal was never guaranteed. Your grocery store didn't create that craving. It just learned how to exploit it. Now here's the twist that surprises most people. Agriculture, the thing that finally gave humans a stable, predictable food supply, might have made things worse before it made things better. Skeletal evidence from early farming populations studied by researchers like Jared Diamond shows something unexpected. Early farmers were often shorter and had worse dental health than the hunter-gatherers who came before them. Why? Because farming replaced dietary variety with dietary monotony. A diet built around one or two staple crops, wheat, rice, maize, delivered fewer nutrients than the wildly varied diet of a forager who might eat 60 different plant and animal species across a single season. In other words, The invention that we usually think of as humanity's great nutritional triumph may have initially made people less healthy, not more. This is the modern mirror, because that same tension is still playing out on your plate today. You live surrounded by more food variety than any human in history has ever had access to. And yet many modern diets have quietly narrowed. A small handful of crops, corn, wheat, soy, rice, now form the backbone of an enormous share of what people eat globally. Convenient, efficient, cheap. But also, in its own way, a return to the same monotony that made those early farmers less healthy than their ancestors. Your body is still the same body your foraging ancestors carried across 2.5 million years of unpredictable landscapes. It still craves fat because fat once meant survival. It still rewards variety because variety once meant a fuller range of nutrients. It still runs on a system built for uncertainty, dropped into a world engineered for convenience. So the next time you're standing in front of a menu, scrolling through delivery options, arguing with yourself about quinoa versus rice, understand what's actually happening underneath that decision. You're not just choosing a meal, you're negotiating with 2.5 million years of improvisation, a brain fueled by fire, a body shaped by scavenged bone marrow, and an appetite that has never fully caught up to the world you built for it. Right now, somewhere, someone is scrolling through a meal delivery app, and underneath that simple decision is the oldest negotiation your species has ever made, still running quietly in you.